Have you ever tried to calmly explain the facts to a MAGA supporter, only to watch the conversation completely explode? You bring data, you bring historical context, you bring logic, and in return, you get anger, denial, and hostility. It is exhausting, it is frustrating, and it can make you feel like our country is entirely broken. But I want to tell you something really important today. You are not doing it wrong, and they aren't necessarily ignoring your facts on purpose. It is actually a matter of biology and psychology. Psychologists call this phenomenon worldview defense. As human beings, we build our self-esteem and our identities around our core values and our group affiliations. When a person feels that their core worldview is being threatened by opposing facts, their brain doesn't process it as an intellectual debate. It processes it the same way it would react to a dangerous animal, with a biological fight or flight response. To deal with the threat of having their worldview dismantled, people instinctively double down to protect their beliefs, which usually results in lashing out and derogating the person they disagree with. This is exactly why reciting statistics, dropping links to news articles, and aggressively debating the facts almost always fails. You aren't having a logical debate, you are triggering a physiological threat response. If we want to save our democracy, we have to stop trying to win arguments and start using a strategy that actually changes minds. So, if throwing facts and statistics at the wall doesn't work, what does? The answer is a scientifically proven method known as deep canvassing. Deep canvassing completely replaces traditional political debate with empathy, curiosity, and a non-judgmental mindset. Research shows that engaging in a genuine 10 to 20-minute dialogue using this method can effectively reduce exclusionary attitudes and shift a person's beliefs for months after a single interaction. Instead of treating the conversation like a battlefield, you treat it like a bridge. The method relies on 3 core principles. First, you focus on sharing vulnerable personal stories to humanize the political issue. Second, you ask reflective, open-ended questions that allow the other person to explore their own values and experiences. And third, you actively listen without judging them. By avoiding aggressive talking points and refusing to be confrontational, you prevent their brain's worldview defense from activating. You create a psychologically safe space where they can look at their own beliefs and actually persuade themselves. Now let's look at exactly how this works in real life. Imagine you need to talk to a conservative relative or neighbor about healthcare and the social safety net. If you use the old method, you might say, "Your party is trying to strip away protections and ruin the economy." Instantly, their defenses are up. The fight is on. But if you use deep canvassing, you start with vulnerability. You might say, "I've been really stressed lately. Last year, my mom got terribly sick, and watching her struggle to afford her medication terrified me." Have you ever had a moment where you felt completely helpless trying to care for someone you love? Notice what just happened. You didn't mention a politician, you didn't drop a statistic, you shared a real, lived experience and asked an open-ended question about their life. When they answer, you listen. You validate their experience. Then, you gently connect it back to the issue. It sounds like we both just want to make sure our families are safe when they get sick. That's why I'm supporting policies that make healthcare more affordable for everyone. By connecting your deep personal values to the issue, you completely bypass their defensive triggers. You aren't enemies anymore, you are 2 people who care about your families. Now that you know how to talk to people without triggering their defenses, it is time to put this powerful skill to work. The 2026 midterms are approaching, and the path to protecting our democracy relies entirely on our ability to organize. We need to channel our political frustration into what organizers call relational organizing. Relational organizing simply means leveraging your existing personal networks, your friends, your family, your coworkers, and your neighbors to mobilize voters. Cold calling strangers is incredibly difficult, but the data on relational organizing is staggering. Studies show that 83% of people trust a cause significantly more when it's recommended by someone they know personally. Your voice carries immense weight with the people in your life. When a friend reaches out to remind you to vote or to explain why an issue matters, it feels personal, not like political spam. By having these empathetic, deep canvassing conversations with your own network, you can boost voter turnout and create real, measurable change in your community. And we need that relational mobilization right now, because there are immediate structural threats to our democracy that demand our attention.
Right now, conservative lawmakers are pushing the Save America Act through Congress. They will tell you this bill is about election integrity, but we need to look at the facts. This legislation introduces incredibly strict proof of citizenship requirements, meaning you could be forced to present a valid U.S. passport or a certified birth certificate just to register for vote. It also mandates strict new photo IDs that explicitly ban the use of student IDs at the polls. The reality is that fewer than 10 in Americans have these specific citizenship documents readily available. Voting rights experts are warning us that this bill is engineered to create massive bureaucratic obstacles designed to disenfranchise millions of eligible, working-class, and young voters right before the midterms. They are trying to make it harder for your voice to be heard. But we are not powerless. Take what you've learned today, reach out to your network, share your story, listen to theirs, and let's organize to protect our fundamental right to vote. We can do this together.